विकसित भारत 2047 एक ध्येय एक सपन गोयचो फुडार बळकट करपाचो भारत देश विकसित करपाचो तुई भी ह्या मोहिमेन वांटेकार जा गोयचो विकास घडोवपाक तुई आपले योगदान दी आपल्यो आयडियाज वा सजेशन्स दिवपाक गोवा ऑनलायन पोर्टलाचेर वचून विजन डॉक्युमेंट तयार करपाक तुझे मोलादीक योगदान दी विकसित भारत 2047.
सगळ्यांक माये मोगाचो येवकार. Good evening to one and all. My name is Sharda, and on behalf of the Museum of Goa, I would like to welcome all of you to the Glimpses of Goa's History, a talk by Subodh Kerkar to mark the launch of Kunal Ray's book, Goa, Subodh Kerkar's Canvas. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Today we live in times where instead of shaping our future, we see that our past and our histories are being altered. We see facts being erased and misappropriated in an attempt to distort reality. And in such times, I think it's very important for us to have an authentic engagement with history, to learn from it, to understand it, and not to use it as a tool to spread hatred, to spread animosities between people and societies. Our histories have helped us understand our present, and today we will attempt to bring you a little closer to Goa's rich, diverse, and multi-layered cultural history. You know, when we think of history, we think of it as dry and boring, a list of long dates, sometimes numbers and the people and places. But our past and our histories is not the history of the rulers, but it's the history of its people, of their struggle, of their dreams, of their aspirations, of their trades, of their travels, and a place full of stories. The Museum of Goa, which is one of India's largest contemporary art spaces in the country, narrates these histories through contemporary art. We believe that both art and history have a place together, and we want to make that accessible and engaging. Unlike most traditional museums in the country, which use a lot of old artifacts to narrate history, we use modern contemporary art to narrate Goa's histories. You know, the Museum of Goa came to life when my father, Subodh Kerkar, visited Berlin, and he went to the Asian Art Museum, where he saw a lot of old artifacts from Indian, Japanese, Chinese, and Southeast Asian cultures. And amidst all of these old artifacts, he saw this one contemporary artwork in the middle of it of a very famous international artist called Ai Weiwei. And he had created this large house using blocks of tea. And that gave him the idea to say that why can't we use contemporary art as a tool to tell stories, as a tool to tell stories of Goa, of today's histories, of the past, of the future, and of the present. And unknowingly, as an avid student of history that he is, slowly we saw that history became a subject of his art. He then started working with several artists in Goa and exciting them and encouraging them to create art that responds to these histories. And in 2015, the Museum of Goa came to life. Today, MOG has completed almost 10 years in its operation, and we have worked with over 500 different artists across Goa, different parts of the country, and across the world as well. We receive 5 lakh people till date, and about 1 lakh school students who have seen the museum and have interacted with it. We are on a mission to ensure that contemporary art and histories are made accessible for all the masses, and we want to democratize art for everyone. MOG has been imagined not as a repository of objects, but it is an experiment, and it's a laboratory of ideas that will inspire you, that will educate you, and that will bring you closer to yourself and to the society that you live in. Today, through Subodh's work, years of work, you will see Goa through his eyes. and he will fascinate you, he will inspire you, and you will be introduced to a language of art that is not intimidating, that is welcoming, and a language of art that oozes history, that oozes stories, and that inspires you and connects you with Goa. We organize several programs every Sunday titled Moke Sundays. They're open to all, and we really wish that each one of you can find some time and come visit us. Every time we attend book launches, we see the authors and delegates cut a ribbon. They untie the book, they unfurl it, they wrap it, they open it. And this ritual has been going on for such a long time, unquestioned. So we decided, why not reinvent a new ritual for a book launch? And we have a little surprise for you. So have a look and let us begin the ceremony. Thank you so much. I would now like to request Dr. Subodh Kerkar and Dr. Kunal Ray to please come up on stage, along with my grandmother and Subodh's mother, Ratnabai Kerkar, please. Professor at the Flame University in Pune and teaches literary and cultural studies. He writes for The Hindu, The Indian Express, and The Hindustan Times, among several other publications. He has an extensive understanding and knowledge of the visual arts, Indian classical music, dance, cinema, theatre, and literature. He writes with such authority at such a young age that my father often refers to him as the Gyaneshwar of culture. Let us put our hands together for Dr. Kunal Ray, please.
It's wonderful to see. I can't see all of you right now, but I know a lot of you are here. And this is an expression of your love and appreciation for Subodh and his work. I have a little note and I'll read out from it. I'll be very quick. I have known Subodh for a very long time. And every time we meet, we talk about many things happening in the country, in the world, in the domain of art and politics, amongst other things. And during several of these conversations, Subodh told me stories. Many stories about where his art came from, his struggles in life, how he trained himself to be an artist, how Goa serves as a perennial inspiration for his work, how his work is an archive of many stories of your most beautiful state. When I heard these stories, I wanted to do something with them. The book that you see today has emerged out of these conversations. And I think of the book akin to an exhibition, an ongoing exhibition of Subodh's work. Exhibitions, as you know, when they happen in a physical space, there is a beginning and an end, but the book lives on. This book will perhaps also ensure that Subodh and his work move out of the confines of the museum and gallery space and travel to your homes in the form of a collectible, easy to carry and store. If you think of the book as a work of art, you can travel with it as you like, see at your pace, pause, and then look and read all over again. It begets the question, is a work of art only to be admired from a distance and not touched and embraced? I urge you to participate in this journey and carry the artist, his thoughts, and his work with you to your homes or wherever else you like, thereby creating new spaces for Subodh and his work to inhabit.
Often I've been asked, why are you so thin? Kidak goitle tu barik, And I often say that I've not consumed food, but I've consumed more of a platter of history. Every breakfast, dinner, lunch table, my father used to serve us stories about where the potatoes came from, where the pineapples came from, where the custard apple came from, and all the fruits and vegetables that are today part of the cuisine that we eat. And Papa has always been so obsessed with history that he has fascinated us all with it. We made a lot of fun of him early on. We would say, we don't want to listen to more of you. There have been people who told him and called him quite crazy when he decided to leave his medical practice and pursue art. And then later also discouraged him from creating the museum. in a random industrial area in Goa. But I think he knew he was he was very sure of what he wanted to do. He kept moving on. He believed in himself and his idea, and he knew that we couldn't see the vision that he had for Goa. Papa is sincere, he's passionate, he's committed to his art practice, and he will fascinate you today and inspire you with his creativity and childlike enthusiasm. Let's put a big round of applause for Subodh Kerkar.
दिवजां पळयलीं तर दिवजां पळयतकर सुबोध कितें उजवाड घालता तें पळोवया असो विचार थोड्यांच्या मनान आयलो आसतलो. Thank you very much for coming here in such large numbers. It is my practice usually, whenever I do an important talk, I always show a picture of my father. Right from the age of 6 to 16, I walked with him every day for 2 hours, and walk with him was my real education. And when we passed away in 2006, I made 500 portraits of him, and we planted these portraits on the seaside, we planted them on the hillside, on the riverside, and in the fields where we used to take walks every day. So this is a tribute to my father. I must tell you a story about how we actually got into art. Now, this is a portrait of my great-grandfather created by Haldankar. S.L. Haldankar was one of the most important artists. This portrait is done in 1931, and it has a beautiful story. My father lived in Keri, which is the extreme northern tip of Goa, and there was hardly any connection with art in this little village. In 1930, Mahatma Gandhi had his salt satyagraha, and the artist's brother participated in it in Bombay. And he was wanted by the British police, in 1930. But he did not have the courage of Mahatma Gandhi. So in order to escape the arrest, he ran away from British India and came to Portuguese Goa and stayed with my great-grandfather for 1 year, just to escape arrest. And during this 1 year, the artist, his brother, visited Keri, and he did landscapes of Keri, and he did portraits of my great-grandfather. And my father was 12 years old, and at that age, he has cut this portrait with a blade when he was 12. And then, in later years, he went to Bombay to study his literature in Wilson College, and then he joined the classes of Haldankar. This is the original by Haldankar, and he studied art, and that's how sort of art permeated into all of us. So I must thank this portrait, I must thank Haldankar and my father for what we are today. So there's a lot of misunderstanding about Goa. A few months ago, I was in Delhi, and I was driving in a taxi, and the taxi driver asked me casually, "Where are you from?" So I said, "I'm from Goa." And he almost screamed, "You are a lucky guy. You are so lucky that you are in Goa. And हम बरसों से हम तरस रहे हैं गोवा जाने के लिए." So people have a kind of a very dream-like idea about what is Goa, and they want to go there. Everybody, especially inside every Delhi wala, there is a Goa trying to come out. Because every Delhi wala wants to buy a house here. I was in Calcutta some time back, and I was walking on the Hooghly River. And I was walking on the Hooghly River, and I suddenly hear Goa. So I start walking towards where the sound is coming from. And on the Hooghly River in Calcutta, there is a little office of a boat cruise. And the boat cruise is being allowed. And the boat cruise says, "Come, please join the boat cruise on Hooghly," almost like Goa. So this idea that Goa is the ultimate fun, like all arts, they say, try to be music. And I think all fun tries to be fun in Goa. That is some kind of a equation like that. Well, you know, what we call Goa today is actually a territory which the Portuguese left. And we say that the Portuguese ruled Goa for 450 years, but actually when they came in 1510, they had a very small portion of Goa, which is only the Ilihas, which is the old Goa. And the rest of Goa was then acquired much later. For example, this is the island of Goa, which is only the Panjim. You can see Panjim, Old Goa. That's the first conquest of Portuguese in 1510. And then slowly they they got Bardez and they got Salsette from the Adil Shah of Bijapur. But this time they did not conquer it. This time they got it through a negotiation because there was a power struggle between two brothers in Adil Shah's of Bijapur. And then they sided with one brother and got these territories. And then the rest of the territory was acquired in 1788, much later. So the Portuguese got all the other territories like Ponda, Sangue, Kepe, Kankona were acquired in 1763 and from the Sondekar Raja. And the Sondekar Raja had got it from the grandson of Shivaji, Rajaram. So Rajaram had given a certain territory, this Ponda, Sange, Kepem and Kankon, to Sondekar Raja for 22,000 horns a year. And then Sondekar Raja sort of gave it to the Portuguese and got some money every year from them. Then Bicholim, Satrim, Pedne were got from Savantwadi Bhosle. Because the Savantwadi Bhosles were all the time in fight with the Kolhapur Bhosles. And the Portuguese had better guns. And so they would provide arms to one side and then negotiate and get this territory. So this was got from the Bhosles of Savantwadi. If the Portuguese had negotiated a little bit more and said, okay, we also want Sindhudurg, we want Vengurla and these areas, then they could have got that area. And then people from Sindhudurg would say, we are real Goans. Because this is just a historical accident over a table where there's a negotiation between the Portuguese and the Raja of Savantwadi, the Bhosles, and the territory was sort of acquired through negotiations. So they could have easily got some more territory. And now, in Goa, we have a very peculiar thing about who is real Goan. I know a good friend of mine, Mr. Pillai. Now, he is born here. His mother is Goan. But Mr. Pillai can never be accepted as a real Goan. But if there is a Peter Fernandez who's born in Canada, his father is born in Canada, but he comes to Goa, he's accepted as a real Goan. So we have a kind of a very peculiar rule, who is a real Goan. One of my friend Padma Kumar Nair actually is thinking of changing his name to Padma Kumar Naik. Otherwise he will not be accepted. You know, Goans have a very peculiar, Nehru called us Ajeeb hai Goa ke lok. There are a lot of things Ajeeb about us. In Goa, when I was studying in Panjim, all the shops run by the Goans would be closed at 1 o'clock and open only at 4:30. And I used to ask them, you lose business. So I said, why are we doing all this? If we can't have good fish curry rice in the afternoon and go for a good nap, why are we leaving? Why should we do this business? But then slowly the shops were rented by people from other parts of the country and they're open now throughout the day. They don't close in the afternoon. So Goans have a little bit sushagad character. The sushagad is actually a positive word. So it is take it easy. But I think for some reason, the smart city people are taking it too seriously. They are taking it very, very, they're really following sushagad ideas for Goa.